To compare Claude Monet's artistic talents to those of a boxer might...
The following is a special presentation of HBO Sports.
For a century now, the sport of boxing has offered an abundance of glorious sequels and second chances, memorable grudge fights, and classic rematches.
Whitaker, McGirt? You gotta be kidding. Why are they fighting again?
Because in March of 1993, when last they met, the boxing world expected this matchup to be the best of the year. Pernell Whitaker, the two-time champion, Buddy McGirt, the welterweight champ. Together, they were two of the sport's most proficient and tactical fighters.
If this is chess, boy, it is violent chess. Two brilliant boxers. Still no left hooks from Buddy McGirt. Another tactical masterpiece.
I should be showing you this fight in black and white because it is a throwback fight.
Months earlier, Buddy McGirt had injured his left shoulder. On this night, he could hardly throw his best punch, a left hook. But even despite this liability, on our unofficial scorecard, the bout was even after 6 rounds.
McGirt is like a cowboy with a 3-shooter.
You've got two champions' hearts on full and open display. Good flurry by Whitaker. He's trying to make the most of it with only one arm.
Boy, this is world-class stuff, guys.
And the brand new WBC welterweight champion, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
That was more than a year ago. Now circumstances are different. McGirt with a newly reconstructed shoulder and 5 more victims on his lengthy list of victories. Whitaker now regarded as boxing's best pound for pound. And that is why they're fighting again. HBO Sports presents a rematch between two of boxing's most talented technicians. As Pernell Whitaker, regarded by many as the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing, defends the WBC welterweight title that he won 19 months ago from Buddy McGirt. 19 months ago, they fought in Madison Square Garden, where McGirt's career was nurtured and brought him to the championship level. This time they meet on Pernell Whitaker's home turf, here in the Scope in Norfolk, nearly full tonight. A highly partisan crowd which can be expected to raise the crescendo for Whitaker when he's able to rally. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. Welcome back to HBO's World Championship Boxing. And after the heavyweight knockout power of Oliver McCall unseating Lennox Lewis as WBC heavyweight champion a week ago, we expect something entirely different tonight. Speaking of heavyweights, George Foreman would normally be with us tonight, but he's in training for his November 5 heavyweight championship date with Michael Moorer. So we wish George luck as he continues training and turn to the man who fills in for him. It's our pleasure once again to have Gil Clancy with us. Gil, you're a New Yorker, McGirt's a New Yorker. A lot of sports experts, including many of the New York boxing writers, are picking Buddy to score an upset in the fight. Why?
Well, Buddy McGirt has a lot of ring smarts, good ability, but more importantly, he's got very fast hands. He's a good puncher. That's enough to make it a very tough night for Pernell Whitaker.
You think McGirt is one of the 2 or 3 best active fighters in the world?
I think these 2 kids are the best 2 fighters pound for pound in the world today. Excuse me, James Stoney.
Spoken by a true boxing purist. Buddy McGirt has a tough task tonight, though, if he's going to take back the WBC welterweight title that he lost to Pernell Whitaker, because he comes here to Norfolk, where Whitaker has been overwhelmingly dominant in his previous title bouts here, with a chance to win 114 rounds on the scorecards of judges. Pernell Whitaker has won 106 of them. More than 93% of the votes, round by round, go for Whitaker when he's fighting here. So, HBO boxing analyst Larry Merchant, how is it possible to conceive of Pernell losing the championship in this arena where he has been so overwhelmingly effective?
Jim, it's hard to imagine Pernell Whitaker losing in Timbuktu or Sioux City, wherever he fights. But lately, we lead the league in hard to imagine. If you remember back in August, we had that bizarre ending to the Bo Mathis fight. And it seems like only last week that a journeyman heavyweight without a knockout history won the lottery with one big punch. So yes, anything can happen to Pernell Whitaker here if he takes his opponent lightly tonight, as apparently did the heavyweight champion last week. And if, as a consequence of that, he hangs his jaw out there to be hit with a solid punch. The important thing is this: Pernell Whitaker is an artist and a magician in the ring, and his opponent is a master craftsman. It's rare these days that we get the best and the next best in the ring at the same time. I just want to see them go at it.
And for those who vote for the next best to unseat the best, one possible McGirt edge they point to: Whitaker's already outsized and continually growing ego. He says he fights not to keep the title, but to be continually recognized as the best in the sport. Calling a boxer the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world has become the ultimate term of respect in this era of ring politics and multiple world championships. Only a very few fighters earn legitimate consideration.
This all started when Sugar Ray Robinson was the welterweight champion of the world, and they didn't know what to call him, because then, like now, Americans have been obsessed by big houses, big cars, big-chested women, and big fighters. Heavyweights is all we care about. And yet it was obvious that Sugar Ray Robinson was the best there was at the time.
While best pound for pound began as a way of paying respect to one man, it eventually became the unofficial title for the best fighter of an era. Fighters like Joe Louis, Muhammad Ali, Ray Leonard. The words had become more valuable than a belt. Legends labored to live up to them.
And that's the meaning of it. It is, they don't take away an MVP in baseball. It's there for all time. You'll lose your batting championship the next year, but you'll never lose that most valuable player. And this is the most valuable fighter of an era.
And that distinction is now given to another welterweight, a fighter who dominates his opponents with style and flair reminiscent of Robinson, Leonard, and others. When he is challenged, there are few who can box in his ring.
I mean, when Pernell wants to put it together, there's nobody can touch him. Now you see him and now you don't. He's that type of a fighter.
There's a certain feeling, an aura that surrounds great champions, and there's a fine line that separates good fighters from great fighters, and he has that certain something.
His pastiche of skills is brilliant. It's a house of mirrors. He's got skill upon skill. I mean, there's a layer. It's almost like an artichoke. When you pull back one layer, there's some more. Pernell Whitaker's the kind of fighter you can't hit him in the backside with a handful of buckshot. I mean, he moves, and he has moves on moves. This is Gale Sayers in boxing trunks.
A lot of I try to use his magic. Like Michael play basketball, I like Magic Johnson do his, his thing, and Michael do his thing. I have my thing, I like to Dipsy do a little bit, and I like to sometimes go behind the back. I have my ways of fooling a man.
In a poorly scored draw against Julio Cesar Chavez last September, Whitaker was technically dominant. His style and tactics kept Chavez off balance most of the fight. Chavez had been considered the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
I remember Julio Cesar Chavez after the fight with Chavez lost. I don't care what those clowns in clowns clothing the judges were telling me. I went over to talk to him and tripped over their seeing eye dogs. But Chavez after the fight complained about Whitaker stooping low. He was bending over. Well, gee, that's a shame. What he was doing was ducking punches.
Whitaker has fought nearly every contender in every weight class he's passed through. And he's taken titles all along the way. But for Pernell, the distinction of best pound for pound was what counted most. With it comes respect.
People just love to see big guys go in there and bang it out. Big heavyweight guys, and they get all the respect. What I try to do is I try to, get a little piece of the pie.
If Pernell Whitaker was a heavyweight at this point here, they would be comparing him with a Muhammad Ali. They would be comparing him with a Billy Conn, with a Joe Louis, that type of a fighter.
Whitaker shows offense, ring generalship, defense, and in his own way, aggressiveness. And I think that goes in his bundle of assets towards making him the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world today.
We are live at the Scope in Norfolk, Virginia. We're coming up in a matter of moments. Pernell Whitaker defends the WBC World Welterweight Championship against the man from whom he won it in March of 1993, Buddy McGirt. It's scheduled for 12 rounds. Pernell Whitaker has worn this label, Gil, of best pound-for-pound in boxing for more than a year now, ever since the Chavez fight. You put him in historical perspective for us. How good is he?
Well, he has more natural ability than any fighter in the world today. He does things in the ring that just can't be taught. But what he really does, he uses those lightning reflexes to make the other guy miss, score points, and win rounds.
And while the facts make it difficult for you not to cover Pernell with glory, it's worth noting that the title victory over McGirt was, on the scorecards, the closest of Pernell's recent victories. In fact, two judges, Chuck Jampa 115-113, Rudy Ortega 115-114, scored it within 2 points as a victory margin. Maybe not too coincidentally, both of those judges are here to score the fight again tonight. And Larry Merchant, Buddy McGirt fought the first fight in the eyes of those who are Whitaker's detractors and McGirt's supporters with one arm because his left arm was seriously injured. Why would he have done that?
He had a million reasons to do it, Jim, and all of them were dollars. This is prize fighting, and he felt that he couldn't blow the chance to make the biggest purse of his life. So as he put it, he took a shot, hoping beyond hope that somehow there would be a miracle of healing during the fight. The questions now are, how much has he healed? Does he have all the bullets in his guns for tonight? Because if he does, he is a danger to Pernell Whitaker, who incidentally is very skeptical about that shoulder. He's sick and tired about hearing about the shoulder because he thinks that it was used as an alibi, but there is the scar on Buddy McGirt's shoulder. Unless it was put there by special effects, he indeed did have an operation on that shoulder.
Good point, though. Sweet Pea doesn't want to hear any more about it. So, Pernell, if you have a monitor on in your dressing room, now is the time to turn it off. Because here comes another discussion of the left shoulder injury to Buddy McGirt, the surgery that followed the first fight, and what effect it might have had as McGirt comes into this second chance. For James Buddy McGirt, his entire career has been a quiet struggle for the kind of recognition that seems to come more easily to other fighters. But his low-key style masks an intense drive and relentless determination.
I came from the school of hard knocks. You know, I started at the bottom of the bottom, you know, and worked my way up. So everything I got, nobody gave to me. I worked hard and I got myself.
Twice, McGirt has won world championships, only to see those titles slip away. An inner ear infection sabotaged his junior welterweight defense against Meldrick Taylor in 1988. Then, after waiting more than 2 years for a chance to become WBC welterweight champ, he faced Pernell Whitaker with what he thought was a left shoulder slightly hampered by tendonitis.
You gotta try to do something, kid.
Do the best you could out there, champ, all right?
He's trying to make the most of it with only one arm and hoping to win the fight with the right hand only.
McGirt saw his title and nearly his career disappear.
You look at this and you say, how the hell could he have possibly fought with this shoulder?
With a new doctor came a chilling diagnosis.
He tore the tendon right at the junction of the muscle and the tendon. Boom. That was a sudden explosive load like you get in boxing, not in throwing sports. And it really looked like someone threw a hand grenade in there. And also, now this had been going on for a long time. So the muscle now contracts and goes quite far away from where it's supposed to be. So it was pretty scary looking when we first looked at it with the arthroscope.
Rotator cuff surgery followed, then a grueling rehabilitation. He had recovered from a bicep tear in that same arm before, but few thought he would come back now.
You come out of surgery, and you know, I had this big cast on, this big splint on my arm, and everybody standing around me looking at me like I was dead, you know, like it was all over. You know, what does the kid do now? And everywhere I go, people would be like, well, what are you going to do now that your career's over? I'm like, what are you talking about, my career? It's not over. You know, and everybody was skeptical. They said, we don't think Buddy McGirt will ever be back again. But, you know, that was the greatest victory, was coming back.
I've learned that Buddy is incredibly motivated and disciplined and follows direction to the T. So that was really the key. I mean, basically, I hooked the thing up and he made it work again.
His jab is unbelievable strong. I mean, he snaps it out there. Sometimes I think he has an extension on his arm. It looks so long to me, and he really got a snap to it, you know?
Buddy McGirt has fought and won 5 decisions in the past year, feeling stronger and more confident with each fight, displaying the technical expertise that made his reputation and the inner fire that keeps him going.
What really made me strong was when my brother was sick and while he was going through this process of dying, and I was with my brother every day and watching what he went through and how the doctors gave him 3 months to live. But he says, no, but, you know, because his wife was pregnant, he goes, I'm gonna stick it out till my kid is born. And the doctor said, there's no way you can do it. And he fought it, and he fought it, and he fought it. And he did it till his kid was born. And after that, then that's when he stopped fighting. And after talking with him and seeing that, has helped make me a very strong person.
Keeping life and boxing in perspective has kept Buddy McGirt coming back against the odds and has kept him out of trouble in the meantime.
Sometimes, like, I have to pinch myself to make sure I'm not dreaming, you know, because I haven't felt this good in a long time.
You know, in my time, there was a lot of Buddy McGirts. Luckily, for him, there's not that many Buddy McGirts around today. And I would love to see Buddy get the rewards of boxing that he deserves. I really do.
And if he could win here under these circumstances, certainly it would take his reputation to a new and unprecedented level. Tail of the tape, you'll see that both men are 30 years old. McGirt enjoys a half-inch advantage in height, maybe a tiny bit in reach. What else, Larry?
The important thing here is McGirt's weight. He weighed exactly 146 in his first professional fight more than 12 years ago. He is a natural welterweight. Pernell Whitaker is a natural lightweight. The strength and power advantage belongs to McGirt.
And given that the weigh-in was 28 hours ago, consider that McGirt probably weighs something more than 146 as he enters the ring tonight. Punch stat numbers, Larry.
Here's an indication of how busy they were in the first fight. You can see that both of them threw about the same number of punches. Whitaker landed a few more as expected. Now this may surprise you because McGirt did throw a lot of left jabs, but mostly he just poured it out there. He's like a pitcher who can throw a fastball but can't throw a curve. He could use the jab, but he could not use the hook.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
Pernell Whitaker and Buddy McGirt will box tonight using the rules of the World Boxing Council. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. You can be saved by the bell in the last round. Only the referee can stop the fight. And a case of cut is caused by an accidental headbutt, and that cut causes the fight to be stopped. We go to the scorecards after 3 rounds have been completed. Before that, it's a technical draw. Jim.
And first to enter the ring will be the challenger, Buddy McGirt, accompanied by his longtime trainer-manager, Al Serto, attempting to join the long list of former welterweight champions to regain the title. There's Serto right in front with the glasses on, and Buddy McGirt surrounded by his supporters as he gets ready to enter the ring. You can see that he's had 7 championship fights. The losses were to Pernell Whitaker and his good friend, the 1984 Olympic teammate, Meldrick Taylor.
And his other loss in over 60 fights was to Frankie Warren. Interesting thing about that, all 3 of those fighters were trained by Georgie Benton and Lou Duva. What do they know that everybody else didn't know?
Well, it depends if none of those 3 guys were a southpaw. Now Georgie Benton's working with a southpaw. Maybe it'll work to McGirt's advantage.
Tell me something, Gil. Al Serto said there used to be a lot of McGirts around. Were there?
No, there weren't. There were a lot of tough guys around. That doesn't mean that they have the ability of a Buddy McGirt.
One of McGirt's many distinctions, he is reputed to be the only fighter ever to have grown up on Long Island to win a heavyweight championship of the world?
A championship. Not yet a heavyweight championship.
Excuse me, a championship of the world. I'm still speaking in last week's language, unfortunately.
Well, we don't think of champions coming from suburbia. He's got about 500 of his best friends up here, and it sounds like he's got as much enthusiasm behind him as we expect Whitaker to get. It's a real tribute to a man that all of these fans would follow him down here.
Well, he developed quite a following through his long career as one of the marquee attractions at Madison Square Garden. Second time around for Buddy McGirt, meaning second chance at Pernell Whitaker. His ring record shows him to be one of the great veterans of the sport today. 64 wins, the 3 losses, as we mentioned, to Frankie Warren, Meldrick Taylor, and Pernell Whitaker. 44 KOs, but no knockouts in any of his last 7 fights. In fact, he hadn't had a knockout, Gil, since May of 1992.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the opponents that he's fighting now. He's up in the top class, and he's fighting all good fighters. You don't knock everybody out.
More volume now as hometown Pernell Whitaker enters for the 3rd defense of his WBC Welterweight Championship. Pretty good company, Larry.
Only the best. That's the biggest leap in boxing, really, among the small men, to go from the 12 pounds from lightweight to welterweight. As a percentage of body weight, that's an enormous leap, and that's why only the greats have been able to do it.
Barney Ross, Henry Armstrong, Roberto Duran, and Pernell Whitaker. Whitaker's record, 33 wins, a disputed loss to Jose Luis Ramirez, later avenged. The controversial draw with Chavez, most observers thought he won the fight. Only 15 KOs. He doesn't really try for them, Gil.
Well, he doesn't really set himself. He's never still. He's always moving. It's either side to side or up and down. So he really doesn't get that much leverage on his punches.
In both corners tonight, you'll see the principals wearing the arm patch that says Ace. It's a reference to the late Ace Murata, passed away within the past 2 weeks. Well-known cut man who worked in Whitaker's corner for years and one of the best-liked figures in all of boxing prior to his recent demise. For more on Ace, let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introductions.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to have your attention. We must pause for a moment to pay tribute to a member of the boxing fraternity who recently passed away. Adolf Ace Murata was a man whose whole life was dedicated to boxing. In addition to his wife Ida and son Jimmy, he had another family, a family of hundreds and hundreds of young men. He was their trainer, their conditioner, coach, and sometimes babysitter. And on fight night, he was in their corner. Whether it was victory or whether it was defeat, he was always there for them. You won't find his name in the record books, but he's really there. He's there with his world champions, Pazienza, Taylor, Breland, Molina, Holyfield, and Whitaker, just to name a few. To those of us who knew him, well, we were very lucky, and we'll never forget him. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, would you all please rise in silence as we toll a farewell count of 10 to one of boxing's great foot soldiers, Ace Murata. May his soul rest in peace. And now, ladies and gentlemen, main events monitor, along with Garden State Boxing, in association with your undefeated king of beers, Budweiser, proud to be your bud, present the featured bout of the evening. This bout is sanctioned by the Virginia Athletic Board, Commissioner Doug Beavers. Chief Physician in charge of ringside, Dr. Juan Rivas. Timekeeper, Stanley Gold. Counting for the knockdown seconds, Louis Lathan. This bout is also sanctioned by the World Boxing Council, WBC Supervisor at ringside, Roy Van Patten. The bout will be scored on a 10-point must system, and the 3 judges assigned at ringside are Chuck Giampa, Rudy Ortega, and Steve Weisfeld. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, working for the 12th time in a World Championship bout, referee Bill Connors. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the scope here in Norfolk, Virginia, let's get ready to rumble! The rematch, 12 rounds of boxing for the welterweight championship of the world. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the purple with white trim. He comes in tonight at 146 pounds. An outstanding professional record of 64 victories, 44 by KO, against 3 defeats with 1 draw. From Brentwood, New York, introducing the #1 ranked contender in the world and former 2-time world champion, the challenger, James Buddy McGirt. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing black with white trim, this 1984 Olympic gold medal champion has a professional record of 33 victories, 15 by KO, only 1 defeat with 1 draw, and he is considered by many to be, pound for pound, the best in the world today. From Norfolk, Virginia, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the 3-time world champion, the reigning welterweight champion of the world, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
You're both giving your instructions in the dressing room now. Listen to my commands out there. Keep it clean. Any questions from this corner? Any questions? Touch gloves. Good luck to both of you.
This place is throbbing with emotion, and that is what's made Whitaker's Brain Trust anxious all week long. They're afraid that he'll go out there and not fight his fight, try to engage McGirt too directly early on.
And incidentally, yet another referee unfamiliar to our HBO television screens. He's Bill Connors from Hialeah, Florida. He says it's his 12th World Championship bout. We've never seen him before. McGirt is known to begin cautiously in round 1. He started slowly against Whitaker in New York, and ultimately that wound up helping to cost him the bout.
And you notice they're using the Reyes gloves, what they call the puncher's gloves for this fight. And I think Pernell Whitaker was the one that wanted the Reyes gloves.
According to the people in the Whitaker camp, Gil, ever since he's had bad hands since early in his career, the Reyes glove is more comfortable for him. And he prefers it, even though logic would tell you he might like the Everlast, which is more of a boxer's glove.
Neither fighter is doing much footwork at all right now. They're flat-footed, both fighters.
Whitaker has been bragging to his friends and confidants that he'll knock McGirt out. That would go against form. But some in his camp are fearful that he'll fight the wrong fight trying to do it.
Whitaker just got wobbled a little bit by that straight right hand. Legs did a little dance.
Straight right was a great weapon for McGirt in the first fight. Haven't seen McGirt throw the left hook with gusto yet. That would be the change in his arsenal if it's there tonight. McGirt sticking the jab. Whitaker comes with the uppercut. Both men landing.
And both fighters are standing very, very still.
Whitaker has landed a couple of straight lefts, unable to back Buddy McGirt up. McGirt appears, as you might expect, the stronger of the two in close quarters.
This is an upset alone that both fighters are fighting flat-footed. Both guys are known for their boxing ability, and it looks like they're both trying to score knockouts early.
It's a bit of a grudge match. McGirt had to goad Whitaker into taking the fight, saying that he's a punk and that he would slap him around a bit.
Work it out. Whoa, no. They're clean. They're clean.
Norfolk crowd booing McGirt as he lifted Pernell into the ropes. Short with the right hand.
And you notice the defense that McGirt is using for that right jab.
Which is?
He's keeping that shoulder up. He's jabbing up and he's keeping that shoulder up. And Whitaker has not been able to land that right jab, that effective right jab.
Stay up and get the fuck away from him. Make him come on back up. You understand? See, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to bait you down with him. See, to get you into a fight. Look, when he gets down low like that, you step back. Get him that shit. You understand? And then go to jab him. What the fuck you playing around for? You're waiting too long. You want the title? Then go get it. Get on that fucking toes and back him up with that jab. And use both hands when you're punching. There's no tomorrow, so let's go. You can do it, you know that. Don't let him jerk you around.
I thought that Whitaker landed enough of those right jabs to win the first round. He hasn't tried anything heavy yet. Let's see if McGirt gives us a little bit more action in this round.
Buddy McGirt threw only 32 punches in round number 1. Logic tells you he'll have to have a bigger punch output than that to give Whitaker trouble, unless he's going to overpower him.
I thought that McGirt landed the more effective punches in the first round, especially that one short right hand. Now watch Buddy McGirt. Watch the way he's blocking Whitaker's, or didn't block that one, but the way he's blocking that right jab with his left shoulder.
McGirt missing over the top with the right.
Well, again, when I have my fighters fight southpaws, I made them move a lot to their left. But Buddy McGirt is moving to his right.
There he lands the short right hand again, and again Pernell Whitaker is backed up by the right. Now Pernell comes on and tries to throw the jab. Buddy still not finishing combinations with the left hook, Gil.
Just did it again. Left, right, no left hook. Buddy McGirt.
The old Buddy McGirt would have thrown that left hook to the body.
Of course, he has a problem hitting Whitaker with a second punch, whether his left is good or not.
But Larry, you can't hang out with that right hand. You've got to come back with the left hook. Even if you don't land it, it brings you back on balance.
Now, there was a left hook lead that missed. And now McGirt goes back to the jab. Whitaker fighting tactically in round 2, not standing toe-to-toe with Buddy as much as he did in round 1.
And Whitaker is making McGirt move the way he wants him to move. He's moving to his right.
Pernell tried to get in a left-hand shot, missed over the top of McGirt's head. Jab starting to land with regularity for Whitaker.
Whitaker moving more, creating some space between himself and McGirt. And down goes Whitaker on a right hand by McGirt. That's only the third knockdown of Pernell Whitaker's career.
And it was a clean knockdown. Hit with a right hand and he was down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whitaker protests, but it looked like a solid knockdown from here. Pernell trying to come back immediately with the left hand.
This may not be good for Pernell because now he's going to try to slug, which is McGirt's game.
Even Pernell's most ardent supporters worry about when his ego will get the best of him. Puts himself in dangerous situations over and over again in recent fights. But you saw the power in McGirt's right hand.
Well, as Larry had mentioned, Buddy McGirt right now is probably about 150, 253 pounds.
Buddy McGirt is the third man ever to put Whitaker on the deck as a pro. The others, Raphael Williams and also Roger Mayweather, both with right hand punches as well.
Now listen, the guy is fighting your fight. Now here's what I want you to do. Listen, look, the guy's throwing the fucking right hand. That's your stick. Look, bang bang. As soon as he throw it, bang bang. You understand? All right. Now let me see it. And then back with the hook.
Let's take a look at the knockdown. I think McGirt, I think that Whitaker thought that punch might have landed a little bit higher on the shoulder, but it did land high on the head and the back of the head. It was not a clean shot to the jaw, which is why Whitaker was able to get up and fight well for the rest of the round.
He wasn't in any trouble at all, but it was a clean knockdown.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no justification for Whitaker to protest the call of knockdown on that one. Referee Bill Connors was right. Third round begins.
And we have yet to see McGirt throw an effective left hook, and we're into the third round.
And you like the left hook against the southpaw,
That's
Bill, don't you?
exactly right. That's the way I taught all my fighters. Throw that left hand right at their elbow and then bring it back up to the chin. And again, Whitaker is making McGirt move the way he wants him to move and scoring points with that right jab now.
And this one will not be called a knockdown.
It was definitely a knockdown. A clean power punch to the side, and McGirt's glove touched the ground.
But maybe because Whitaker protested the first knockdown, Connors was of a mind not to rule this one a knockdown.
I agree with you, Gil. I thought he went down from a body punch and a loss of balance, but a punch did induce the knockdown.
It sure looked that way from here. I think we're all in agreement about that. McGirt trying to flurry again. Buddy McGirt landing a lot of power shots now in round number 3. Pernell Whitaker on the canvas twice so far in the bout. Only one of them ruled a knockdown, though the second one certainly could have been. Straight left hand for Whitaker.
Big, hard straight left hand from Whitaker.
There's a solid left shot from Whitaker. Doesn't seem to move McGirt, but the accumulation of blows like that could mean something.
Well, one on the button can mean something, too.
Let him alone in there.
I'm surprised that McGirt is not stepping over to the left and trying to bring Whitaker back in front of him.
Another left hand lands inside for Whitaker. Maybe not as heavy a blow as the one about 30 seconds ago. Buddy McGirt living on the left jab and the straight right hand, just as he did in the first fight between the two.
And again, every time Whitaker moves to his right, he scores with that right jab.
Hard right hand for McGirt, two hard left hands for Whitaker. They're fighting like heavyweights in there. Another sensational left hook from Whitaker, but here comes McGirt. One of the most action-filled welterweight rounds of recent years. Two supposed finesse artists trading power shots for 3 minutes. Another right hand from McGirt
listen, now he's carrying you a little too fast. Don't let him carry this fast. That's what you do. When you get close, don't grab the guy. Just look, see, take your hands and make a sandwich out of your damn head. Just do this. Now look, listen what I'm saying. Make a sandwich out of your fucking head. And when he fires, catch and fire back. But you don't care where you hit him. On the glove, any fucking way. He can't punch and block at the same time. And some of them punches.
Let's take a look and see if that fall down was a slip or a knockdown. Well, on second look, Gil, it did look more like a slip. He hit him in the back.
I wouldn't call it a slip because he didn't slip. But I would think what really happened was McGirt hit him with the punch and almost threw him down.
Yeah, I agree. If that punch isn't scored as a knockdown, how do you score that round? Because Whitaker landed a lot of good shots.
I gave the round to Whitaker. Whitaker is piling up points with that right jab. Anytime he keeps circling to his right, he's scoring points on Buddy. Buddy should be stepping over, trying to throw that left hook, which maybe he's not as confident of using as he said he was.
He threw a short left hand inside to begin this round. He's thrown maybe a half dozen lefts other than the jab. But they are pawing efforts so far. No snapping, devastating left hooks, but what sensational right crosses. There was another solid shot, and Whitaker wobbled again. Don't need to call that. I mean, if you can't see that, these are just great power shots. Whitaker missing just a little bit over the top, manages to paw at McGirt as McGirt falls away. Right hand for Whitaker as McGirt comes in.
And again, two technicians have become warriors.
That's because they're champions, Gil. Champions, when they face each other, often do this kind of a thing.
This has a touch of the Hagler-Hearns about it, doesn't it, Larry?
In its fashion, yes. They're champions because they're competitors.
Another rocking left from Whitaker.
That hurt McGirt.
McGirt is wobbled.
McGirt is hurt. McGirt got hurt by that left hand. No question about that.
Pernell has never been much of a finisher in this situation. He lacks that one great knockout punch. McGirt seeming to regain his senses a little bit, landed that right hand.
Took a lot of starch out of Buddy McGirt, though, Jim. Now you see that instead of throwing that right hand, he was ducking a punch that Whitaker didn't throw.
Whitaker throwing that left with more murderous intent than we've ever seen. What a right hand by McGirt.
If I was McGirt, I'd be firing that right hand to the body. That Pete is so slick and so quick, makes you miss those right hands, but he's not going to miss body punches. Throws that straight right hand downstairs.
Whitaker jabs his way out of the corner. Connect percentages for both fighters going way up in the last couple of rounds.
Unofficial, official, how do you score this fight through 4 rounds?
Larry, this is a great fight. I've got it about as even as you can possibly get it. 2 rounds each, 38-38. I wouldn't have given Buddy McGirt an extra point for that knockdown in the second round. It was a flash knockdown, and Pete was boxing nicely with the right jab. Round 4, Pete took over completely with the right jab. I gave round 3 to Buddy McGirt because I thought he landed a lot of good, solid right hands. But I want to tell you something. This is a humongous ring. It's 24 feet, and Pernell Whitaker is really using it. He's backing up and making McGirt come to him.
I have it 3 rounds to 1 for Whitaker, although in the ring it looks a lot closer.
And I have it 28-28.
Gil Clancy did give a 2-point round to McGirt in the second when the knockdown took place.
Let's see that Whitaker punch high on the head, followed by another flurry of punches that were not as effective.
Whitaker went to the jab more in round number 4. You wonder at what point he might begin to box more and try to start piling up points. And there's a butt, and Whitaker moves away saying he was head-butted by McGirt, but they traded punches at close quarters as well.
Again, Buddy McGirt is allowing Pernell Whitaker to slide over to his right, where he's not in front of Buddy McGirt, and Buddy can't land that right hand.
There's the right hand, but it doesn't seem to be wobbling Whitaker the way it did in the first 3 rounds. And now Pernell keeps coming back with the left. Whitaker going to the body to try to set up yet another left.
McGirt seems to have lost a little steam in his punches, and it's very early in the fight.
Both fighters seem a little bit arm weary as we go into the latter half of the 5th round. Certainly McGirt's right not coming as frequently or as fast as it did in the early stages. Whitaker missing wildly over the top with the left. Still no left hook in the arsenal of Buddy McGirt. He tried one there.
He tried one, but not very effective. Didn't even have his fist closed.
Pernell seizing the moment for the left again. Whitaker stood his ground, and McGirt took the shot.
Let's go. Get them hands out of there. Watch those hands in there.
Another short left hand.
At the moment, Whitaker is by far the busier fighter. And if he keeps up this way, he's going to win those rounds. Usual Pete Whitaker style.
And Buddy's eating a lot of left-hand power shots, Gil.
That's the first time I've seen Buddy slide over to his left in this fight.
But he didn't bring anything with it. It's not going to mean much if he doesn't have the left hook to sting Pernell to the body. Right hand again from McGirt. That one missed.
Pernell Whitaker said he was coming to this fight with his tap shoes, but it looks like he's come with his work boots, his fighting shoes, Gil.
Or maybe diver's boots. He's anchored to that canvas.
You gotta pick it up, buddy. You gotta use that. Listen, buddy, you're not gonna beat this guy without that fucking hook. Now throw it. What the fuck are you waiting for?
Come on, baby, don't let him steal around.
Come on. What's the matter with you?
Get it, baby.
Don't back up. Stay with him and punch.
Okay. We'll stay at his ass from to the bell ring.
Close those legs up and get on your toes. Okay. And back him up with that jab.
You may remember our feature piece that showed you in the first fight in Madison Square Garden. We had him even after 5 rounds. There were the punch stat numbers on March 6, 1993 at the bottom of the screen. Here's how they compare tonight. And you can see that McGirt is landing at a lower rate tonight than was the case when. Then Pernell has begun to heat up in the last couple rounds.
And McGirt came out and right away tried to throw a left hook to the body as per Al Cerdo's colorful instructions.
This ain't no tea party, Gil.
They trade jabs in the middle of the ring.
But you know,
and there's a left hook. He tried it and missed.
Another one, he just tried another one.
These are lead left hooks. He needs to finish the combinations with them, Gil.
That's it. It's the answer. When he throws that right hand, that's when he has to hook back.
Now you see him, now you don't. Whitaker getting more elusive as the fight goes on.
Again, he won't be so elusive if McGirt starts banging that right hand to the body. You don't miss the body, you miss the head. Again, another miss to the head.
Well, McGirt probably feels as though he almost knocked him out with that right hand. If he can get another clean shot, he can turn the tide. But things are going more and more Whitaker's way in this, the 6th round of a scheduled 12. Another sensational left inside from Whitaker after he fought his way out of the corner. Crowd responds enthusiastically.
But McGirt landed 3 solid body punches while Whitaker was on the ropes.
Outstanding.
One of them was a left hook.
So the left hook beginning to come now in round 6. After Al Certo demanded it between rounds. Another quick left for Whitaker, another left hook from McGirt. They trade punches in center ring.
And Whitaker now looks to me as if he's starting to get a little tired. Mouth is a little bit open.
Punches not quite as quick or as heavy as before. Both fighters going to the body.
Very clean step out. Let him alone, Sweetie. Watch your head inside.
And we knew nothing about referee Connors, but up until this moment, he's been doing a good job handling this fight.
And if they're going to fight this way, it's good that you got a big physical referee in there who can pry them apart. Whitaker missed with a haymaker that might have ended the fight. McGirt lands a right.
He tried to land a sucker punch on McGirt.
What a rally by Whitaker. Second wind in the 6th round.
Fighting the shit out of the guy. And you ain't killing yourself because you're throwing the dead weight. Now look. Now look at me. When he starts to fire at you, you ain't got to run no more. Look. All you got to do is just do this. Wait, watch yourself. You're doing shit. You're fighting a defensive fight. Punch! That's something like round 1. You're taking the punches anyhow and you ain't fighting back.
You're gonna put him back.
Come on, let's go. Keep those hands up, you understand? Throw that jab, right with the jab, let everything come off it. And don't forget the...
Here's one of those flurries, the kind of action nobody could really expect in this fight. You see the fast hands at close quarters of Pernell Whitaker.
That was a 10-punch combination, Larry.
Wow.
Two guys who never stop.
Promoter Dan Duva said this was the best fight in Virginia since the Civil War. He may be right.
Well, as you mentioned, you have 2 world champions. When a champion, they have that champion's heart, both of them, and a lot of pride. And it's all coming out in the ring. But again, Whitaker is doing the same thing time after time, sliding to his right, using the right jab, and Buddy is not trying to step over and get Whitaker in front of him. I mean, he's trained to fight a southpaw in this fight, and so far it doesn't seem to me as if they're using the proper tactics.
McGirt going back to the body. Pernell trying to counter in kind. Almost a minute into round number 7. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it becomes a more tactical fight. McGirt leaping behind the jab, but one punch at a time. Right hand on the break for McGirt. Landed flush.
That really wasn't on the break. The referee had not told him to break, and you're supposed to protect yourself at all times, which Pernell forgot. There's where McGirt should be throwing that right hand.
Good right hand in the body by McGirt. Pernell came back with a right and a left. And then McGirt punctuated the exchange with another right hand of his own. Heaviest shots of the round so far. Another good right hand from McGirt. Turned Whitaker's head to the side.
And you know, I think Pee Wee Whitaker is trying to show that he's tougher than this guy, and he can out-punch him.
Another headbutt, at least as far as Whitaker's concerned. No stoppage in the action. McGirt told his us yesterday he would walk away when Whitaker did the dipsy-do, and he did exactly that.
And I was going to mention just before he did it, we hadn't seen him do it all night. Yeah, McGirt waited, and Whitaker beat him to the punch.
McGirt's right was blocked that time. Whitaker lands a jab. Both fighters slowing down a tiny bit in the seventh. Another sensational left hand for Whitaker, and McGirt landed a blasting right in return. Spectacular exchanges of power shots from these two great technicians.
Again, Whitaker will not allow McGirt to dominate him at any time in the fight.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Same thing, boss.
Buddy,
Same thing.
Buddy, stay on your toes, please. You gotta throw the fucking hook. You look like damaged goods out there, for Christ's sake. And you're not damaged goods.
Let's go, bro. Let's go.
Harold Letterman, 7 rounds. Your score, please.
Larry, 68, 65, 5 rounds to 2. Pernell Whitaker. Larry, Pernell is using this big ring to perfection. I mean, he just keeps backing up. Buddy McGirt comes to him, and Pernell wraps him. I mean, the 24-foot ring is such a tremendous advantage for Pernell Whitaker. And Buddy McGirt just doesn't know how to get by this. I mean, Whitaker suckers him in and wraps him.
I also have the fight now 5 rounds to 2 for Whitaker.
Gil?
I have the fight 4 rounds. I scored 2 rounds even, let's put it that way. And I've only given Buddy McGirt the 10-8 round outside of that.
So you've got Whitaker ahead by a point.
Whitaker ahead by a couple of points.
Yeah, a couple points. All right, so on our 3 scorecards, Clancy, Merchant, and Letterman, Whitaker leads by anywhere from 2 to 4 points. Pernell trying to establish the jab more now, Gil.
But the thing that amazes me is that they in Whitaker's corner, that they don't see that Whitaker was just sliding a little bit to his right.
And McGirt just landed his best left hook of the fight.
Exactly, and it followed a right jab, which he should be doing more of.
But now here comes Whitaker fighting back, trying to reestablish himself because, as you say, Gil, he doesn't even want McGirt to win a minute, much less a round.
Anytime McGirt nails him with a solid punch, Pernell is right back, bombing away.
Pernell, much the busier fighter. If there's one critical difference to this point in the bout, it is that Pernell simply throws and lands more punches.
And that's what he usually does, especially here in the scope.
You heard Al Certo between rounds telling Buddy McGirt, you look like damaged goods out there, and you're not damaged goods. Maybe it was that which goaded McGirt into throwing the terrific left hook with which he began this round. Good jab from McGirt. Whitaker comes right back with 2 shots of his own.
McGirt is just not putting his punches together, Jim. And that's mostly because Whitaker is never really in front of him.
Solid right hand inside from McGirt, but Pernell comes back with about 4 or 5 shots of his own.
And now McGirt has a
big mouse under his left eye.
Under his left eye.
Yeah,
solid abrasion.
Growing.
Which is where that right jab has been peppering him.
Target practice along the ropes for Whitaker. Buddy works his way out. Fight has been everything it was expected to be and more. Certainly different in style than most of us would have expected. Straight left landed from McGirt. Whitaker trying to dig to the body with the left again. Whitaker wants one more left-hand shot. And he got a right hand in as the bell sounded.
And I thought he wobbled him
trouble. No question about it. Whitaker had him in trouble.
All right, buddy. I'm okay.
Pick it up, bud. Pick it up, bud.
You got it, don't you?
Here's a punch that happened earlier in the round, then from the end. This is the one at the end. A straight, hard left jab, followed by that left to the point of the chin, a left to the body, a terrific combination.
Give him no air. Why are you throwing one fucking punch and you look at it, you work? What do you want to see? If you hurt him, you got to throw combinations. Gotta get him now, babe. Watch more one. Get more one. Got to get inside, move your fucking hands.
Vintage Whitaker in round 8. He threw 71 punches to only 42 from McGirt, landed 35 to only 19 from McGirt. So it has become a Pernell Whitaker kind of fight as we go into the last third of the bout. Round 9 begins.
And Jim, in my opinion, McGirt is going to have to try to make the same kind of finish that he made in Madison Square Garden, even to be in the fight. He's going to have to just about win every round. 4 rounds left.
Whitaker with a punishing uppercut inside. McGirt trying to throw more than one punch at a time. Trainer Al Certo sorely disappointed between rounds, saying, why are you only throwing one and watching your work?
He's only
another slip.
He's only throwing one punch because Whitaker is never in front of him.
Little moment of comic relief. Whitaker waiting in the middle of the ring. McGirt could have run at him and maybe gotten a clean shot, but Buddy's too classy for that.
Jim, it's so obvious to me what Pernell Whitaker is doing in this fight. From the opening bell, he just keeps sliding slightly to his right, as he did then, and he's never in front of Buddy. Scores with the right jab, scores with the right jab, and when he sets him up, then he comes back with a combination.
But if McGirt doesn't have the confidence to throw the left hook, Gil, what weapon could he use to stop that?
He's been trying to do it with a straight right hand, but it's just not enough. Again, you can just see Whitaker just slide slightly to his right all night long.
Whitaker has probably landed more straight lefts with full power in this fight than in almost any bout we've ever seen.
And you can see he's landing punches now, and Buddy is not trying to punch back. He's not countering.
Now he's just letting Pernell pile up the points. You can't do that and expect to win.
Terrific uppercut.
Oh, what a shot. And McGirt is badly hurt. Now he fights back with the right hand. Left eye closing for McGirt. Pernell Whitaker trying to target the left.
Slide to the right and escape. That's been Whitaker's modus operandi from the opening bell.
Whitaker will try to stick one more left before the round ends. It'll go to the body.
How he worked on his side.
Look, you gotta work.
I'm trying, man.
I'm
trying. Let's do this.
Buddy, come on, give me that fucking inch.
All right.
Close your eyes. Buddy, you're following all around the fucking ring. You ain't doing shit.
All right.
You gotta punch.
Look when you're inside, bud. Let that shit go.
Don't bounce back when he's punching. You gotta punch. Throw your punches straight.
Here's some more action. Whitaker landing, but McGirt coming up with one big punch to try to even out that round. Just isn't there at the moment. You heard him tell his trainer, I'm trying.
Round 9, the most lopsided of the bout so far. Our punch stat computers finding McGirt throwing only 20 punches in the 9th. Whitaker threw 77.
So after having knocked Pernell Whitaker down in the second round and then gotten him onto the canvas again in the third round in what was not ruled a knockdown, Buddy McGirt has now slipped into the abyss and would need a major comeback, it appears, here in the scope to lift Pernell Whitaker's title.
Well, right now, it would seem to me as if Buddy would either need a knockout or at least 1 2-point round, along with 2 others, just to get a draw in the fight.
Whitaker wincing as he believes McGirt's head hits him one more time.
I felt a few times, Jim and Gil, that he hurt his arm. That's what he was wincing about. It wasn't a headshot, but that there's something in his arm that's wrong.
In his right arm.
I'm not sure which arm it is. I thought the left arm at one point, maybe it's the right arm as well, but several times he's winced.
McGirt becoming a little bit more active now as round 10 progresses. Whitaker maybe a little more defensive than he has been in the past 3 rounds. Backing up and living behind the jab for the moment. And now here comes the straight left again. And he lands one to the body. And another one to the head. And here comes Buddy.
McGirt looks very, very weary right now.
Crowd rising in appreciation here as they root for Whitaker to score the knockdown, which he so greatly covets now.
Let's go. You're tied up. Very clean.
McGirt was right with those body punches.
He looks like he's almost ready to go.
He's only been knocked out once in his career in 68 fights. That was by Meldrick Taylor. Oh, what a sensational left. But Buddy stands in.
McGirt's taking a beating now, Gil.
It's become a one-sided fight. Completely one-sided. It's as if Pernell Whitaker has imposed his will on Buddy McGirt.
That's exactly what he's done. He has simply stepped in belly to belly and proven himself for the moment the better man. Here comes another straight left.
If McGirt didn't give up in the last fight over the last 2 rounds, he's not going to give up here.
There it was, a crushing left. And another terrific round for Pernell Whitaker.
Baby, come on. Give it your all, bud. Okay. Give it your all, man. We got what? How many rounds is it? What round is it?
Give it your all. You got 6 minutes. Give it your all.
It's on 1 punch. What's the matter with your left hand?
Nothing.
So, well, then fucking throw it. Get water.
Well, give it your all these last 6 minutes. Okay.
Let the punches come out. Come on. Don't spread your feet. Water, come on.
But you saw the numbers in round 10. It has become, for the moment, a rout. 2 rounds to go. Whitaker's never been knocked out. Buddy McGirt only once in his career in 68 fights.
Harold, we have 10 rounds. Your score so far?
Larry, totally one-sided, 98-92, 8 rounds to 2, Pernell Whitaker. I mean, I haven't given Buddy McGirt a round since round 3. I think there's something wrong with Buddy McGirt's right hand because he doesn't raise it above his shoulder. He doesn't block anything with his right hand at all.
That's the last thing in the world Whitaker is going to want to hear is that McGirt was injured in the fight. You can't imagine the stream of invective that would elicit from Pernell Whitaker, who doesn't even believe or claims he doesn't believe that McGirt really had a shoulder operation after the last fight.
McGirt now is just staying in there on courage. That's about it. He's offering no opposition whatsoever.
shocked, Gil?
Well, I've seen Buddy. I know the courage he has. I saw him win a fight when he had a bicep torn in half. I know he's a courageous guy, but he just doesn't seem to be able to throw any punches.
The great thing about Whitaker here is that he has a boxer's mentality. He doesn't get overexcited because he's got his opponent hurt and ready to go. Lands his punches, gets out, starts again.
No.
It's been the same pattern, Larry, for the entire fight. There's been no change in McGirt's strategy from the opening round. You can just stand and watch it. Here's Whitaker jabbing and sliding to his right all night long.
McGirt slipping on the same wet spot on which Whitaker went down a couple rounds ago.
And they nod to each other, acknowledging that Whitaker did not try to take advantage of it.
Good right hand by McGirt. His best shot in a while, but it's one punch at a time now for Buddy. Only Pernell Whitaker continues to throw combinations. There's a left and a right. So McGirt proves me a liar for the moment.
No. Break cleat. Whoa. Step out.
Same wet spot.
Let's go.
Again, I have to compliment the referee for the job he's done, Jim. He's been on top of the action when he had to be.
Yep.
Done a great job.
Whitaker retreating away from McGirt's straight rights. The two fighters smile at each other momentarily. Slow, tactical round. Now McGirt slipping on the wet spot. And a flurry from Whitaker to close out the round.
Pernell Whitaker has given a lot of virtuoso performances, but considering the opposition, I don't think I've seen him better.
This has been a great fight.
Now I want you to listen to me real good. Now this round, this guy may go for broke. Don't run from it. You understand? Don't run from it. Make it miss like you've been doing. Stay close to it. See the punches don't hurt you as bad. And then get around your neck. But now look, Pete.
But just try a little harder. Just try a little harder.
Rub those legs.
Give it your all, bud. You hear me? Give it your all.
I got it.
Don't give it no edge. Give it your all. Half 2 minutes. I'm doing my best, Al.
I know that. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Now look, stay on his ass with that dead weight. Stay on him.
Pernell playfully pats Georgie Benton on the head as he leaves the corner for the last time. Round 12 begins. Great fight.
But you know, Pernell Whitaker told us he'd like to move up and fight Terry Norris. What about that fight, Jim?
Whole different story, I think. It would be an interesting test for Pernell to see if he can take Norris's punch. But we'll finish this one first. You heard Georgie Benton telling Pernell Whitaker not to run from McGirt. Why, Gil?
Because he doesn't want McGirt to catch him on the end of any long punches. They can do some damage. Inside, you smother the power, smother the punches.
Kind of a vote of confidence in his man. He's telling him he's good enough to beat him straight up, right?
That's right. And that's what Whitaker was trying to prove from the first round.
Pernell Whitaker may have taken more heavy shots here in the first 3 or 4 rounds than at any time in the past couple of years in his career. But he weathered the early storm and eventually asserted tactical dominance over Buddy McGirt.
All right, breaking there. Step out of there. Break clean. Quit the wrestling now. Let's go. Get out of there, sweet pea. Let's go.
And in my opinion, Jim, Buddy McGirt never had a good solid left hook in this round. He may have thrown a few, but
in the whole fight,
very ineffective.
Yeah. So that sort of closes the book on the subject of McGirt's left hand, right? It just isn't there and isn't likely to ever be the same.
Seems that way to me.
Not the one, certainly, that stopped Simon Brown for the welterweight championship.
Same wet spot.
Let's go.
It's been there for the past 5 rounds.
Let's go.
Maybe he had 4 bullets instead of 6 in his gun tonight.
Two great technicians. Look at the way they both escape from the ropes. First one, then the other.
Less than 40 seconds now to what should be something more than just the obligatory embrace of mutual respect. These guys have fought 24 hard rounds with one another. They know each other in a way that only fighters can know each other. And if Buddy McGirt doesn't have full respect for Pernell Whitaker by now, and vice versa, then they just haven't been paying attention.
What was that, Larry, that we just saw in the corner?
I don't know. Folks, that was boxing at its best. Larry, as good a fight as it was, I expected an even better one. I'm a more competitive. I'm a little disappointed in Buddy McGirt's performance from the middle rounds on.
So how much of it was subpar McGirt and how much of it was great Whitaker asserting his dominance?
Well, Whitaker again changed his tactics. He showed Buddy that he was able to punch with him. As a matter of fact, anytime Buddy landed a solid punch, Whitaker would never let him get on top and come right back and land a couple of solid ones himself.
All right, Harold Letterman, your final scorecard.
Jim, absolutely one-sided. 10 rounds to 2, 118, 110, Pernell Whitaker. Jim, the only question in my mind is it possible for Pernell Whitaker to get less than 118 points in this fight? In other words, he couldn't have absolutely lost more than 2 rounds. If he gets 118 points, that means he only lost 2 rounds. And certainly, I just can't see him losing more than 2 at the very, very most. This was totally one-sided in the scoring. Pernell peppered him with the right jab all night, murdered him with the left hand, used that 24-foot ring. It was one-sided.
Keep in mind, of course, that it's possible all 3 judges would have scored a 10-8 round for McGirt in the second when he got the knockdown, although, as you know, Harold Letterman said he would not have scored that 2-point round for McGirt because of the nature of that knockdown. And now let's go up to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on this decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. Steve Weisfeld scores the bout 117 to 110. Chuck Jampa scores at 117 to 113. And Rudy Ortega scores it 118 to 112 for the winner by unanimous decision and still heavyweight champion of the world, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. And a round of applause for Buddy McGirt. Let's give him a hand.
So another victory for Pernell Whitaker. Final punch stat numbers show that tonight Whitaker was 330 for 816. In the first fight, 314 for 768. So he was even busier tonight, if not quite as accurate. McGirt, fairly similar numbers to the first fight, although his punch output went down so dramatically in the last 6 rounds of the bout that he winds up throwing more than 200 fewer punches here tonight than was the case in Madison Square Garden, and that's after the shoulder was surgically reconstructed. And very quickly, we'll look at jab numbers. Whitaker was the leader in that category as well, throwing and landing many more jabs tonight than did McGirt. You see that Buddy McGirt was about half as effective with the jab tonight as was the case March of '93 in Madison Square Garden. All around, a considerably more dominant performance by Whitaker, who stands by with Larry Merchant right now.
Thank you, Jim. Pernell, congratulations. A hard night. You're knocked down in the second round. What were your thoughts at the time?
Oh, a little flash knock. You know, it wasn't really a knockdown. I just got caught off balance. You know, but when, you know, it didn't bother me, but I figured I better get up.
It must have annoyed you. What did it make you do?
Just made me stay more aware, you know. Come on, I still think I got the round, you know, or made it even.
All right, tell us your impression of the fight that you gave, and was he as good as the first time, or were you just that much better?
I'm sure he was in the best shape of this time around, but that's why they call me the best fighter pound for pound, because I always had to save our network.
All right, you went toe-to-toe with him, you fought him inside. Tell us why do you think that surprised him?
Well, you know, I don't know why I surprised him in it. You know, the first fight was sort of similar, but I just had a good jab tonight. I figured if we get off on the jab first.
So the plan was to stick him with the right jab and see what happens.
See what happens, and just have a good jab and just give him an offbeat jab. You know, and for all the young fighters that were watching, take that. You need to take that in the gym.
The counter to that is usually a left hook. He didn't throw many of them. Do you think he just can't do that to you?
I don't want to hear that because that sounds like another excuse coming up. He was fine. I just took the left hand away from him. You know, we're not going to give him no excuses this time.
Well, you certainly didn't give him any excuses in the ring. Pernell, tell us about your plans now. Who would you like to fight next? Who are you willing to fight next?
It really doesn't matter, you know, as though the fans know and the public knows that, you know, there is nothing else Pernell Whitaker can do. Well, all I want, but if you're looking for it,
you've talked about Chavez. You've talked about Terry Norris at 150 pounds, which surprises some people. Are you willing to test him?
No, if I don't get Chavez in the next fight, then we'll do a whole lot of other considerations. You know, I don't think the public needs to wait 4 years for us to get back in there. You know, catch two men while they're fresh. You know,
so your priority is Chavez.
The Hispanic public deserves to see it again, and the American people needs to see it again.
Thank you. We were glad that we saw you again tonight, Pernell Whitaker, Jim, and Gil.
All right, thanks very much, Larry Merchant. A brief discussion there of possible future opponents for Whitaker. Let's talk about three of them. Number one, what he really wants is a rematch with Julio Cesar Chavez. Match Whitaker against Chavez for me at this time.
I just think we're wasting our time. After watching Whitaker tonight, I don't think Chavez wants any part of him. I'm pretty sure Don King doesn't either.
All right, what about Frankie Randall, who's become Chavez's persistent nemesis? Suppose Whitaker were to take a fight with Frankie Randall. Is he favored there?
Absolutely. Pernell Whitaker tonight wanted to prove that not only he's a great tactician, but a tough guy. He proved it to me. He out-toughed Buddy McGirt tonight.
Any question in your mind Pernell's the best fighter pound for pound in the world?
Well, again, I thought he was, but he proved it to me again.
Would he be favored even against the heavy-punching Terry Norris, 3 pounds north at 150 pounds?
No, I don't think so. I think that Norris, with the two good hands that he has and the combinations that he throws, might be a little too big and strong for Pernell Whitaker.
That'd be something to look forward to for sure. Let's go back to Larry.
All right, I'm with Buddy McGirt. Buddy, it was a game fight. Was Pernell Whitaker just too much tonight?
He was the better man. You know, I take my hat off to him. You know, he did what he had to do to win, so, you know, he got it tonight.
Let's take a look at the knockdown in the second round, your description of it, and tell us what your feelings were at the time. Did you think you had him on the run?
Well, you know, I was just waiting for that one time, and when I caught him, I got kind of tied up and was trying to knock him out. And he kept his game plan and kept boxing. So, you know, I can't take nothing from him. He did what he had to do, and he's a champ.
He seemed to dominate the fight with his right jab. Were you unable to do anything with it?
You know, there was times I could, times I couldn't. I was trying to look to land the bomb again, you know, after the first knockdown. You know, and that was it. I felt I had to knock him out, and that's all I was trying for.
You're satisfied now that Pernell Whitaker is a great fighter. In your opinion, give us the fighter's view of Pernell Whitaker.
Oh, you know, he deserves his credit. I give it to him. You know, my arm was okay, so I can't say it was the arm. You know, he did what he had to do, and he was the better man.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jim?
All right, thanks a lot. Gil, you've known him for a long time. 69 fights for Buddy McGirt, more than a dozen years as a pro. He got a big paycheck tonight. What's his future?
Well, you know, I think that's something that he's going to have to sit down and figure out, because they keep telling everybody that his left hand is good and everything else. But watching the fight tonight, he certainly is not 100% as far as I'm concerned.
You say he was ill-prepared for the fight, strategically, mentally, didn't fight the way he should. What possible explanation for that?
Well, you know, he had a great southpaw sparring partner in Kenny Gould, and they told me how great he was doing with Kenny Gould every day. But, you know, everybody has a different opinion. In my opinion, when you fight a southpaw, you should try to make him go your way, go to your left. But Pernell Whitaker made Buddy McGirt just walk after him all night long. There was no change almost from the opening bell. It got to be very repetitious after a while.
One thing about Buddy, too classy, too good a fighter to wind up in prelims. If he's not going to get good fights after this, I wouldn't mind seeing him hang it up.
Oh, he's not going to wind up in any prelims, that you can be sure.
I hope not. All right, thanks very much, Gil. Larry Merchant, yet another Pernell Whitaker virtuoso performance, as you described it in the closing rounds. Your closing thoughts?
Well, early tonight, I called him an artist and a magician. And what that means, basically, as a fighter, is that he has that extra improvisational dimension that can turn a script into something better than we think the script is going to be by doing something that sometimes we just don't expect. I've been thinking about that Ukrainian girl in the Winter Olympics. Remember, at the end of her performance, she knew she needed something extra, and she did a double twist or a triple jump or whatever it was to pull out the championship. That's what artists and magicians do in sports. He has that ability. It's what separates him from everyone else, what makes him a truly great modern fighter.
Supposing that he cannot get a fight against Julio Cesar Chavez and wouldn't take a possible fight against Frankie Randall. Supposing that the next option for him becomes Terry Norris at 150 pounds. Is that a logical choice or foolishness on his part?
I said earlier that this was prize fighting. It has to do with money. If he fought Terry Norris, it would be a fabulously interesting fight. Norris probably would be favored, as Gil said. But this is different than Meldrick Taylor because he's such a great pure boxer. And we would want to see what happens. He would lose no stature if he happened to lose that fight. It's just he tried a bigger, stronger man, a man who's a small middleweight. He is basically a lightweight. It would be interesting to see. I would love to see it.
He loves to prove that he can play against